Yes, here we finally are. Zach has read Changes, Book 12 of the Dresden Files. It is the favorite of many readers, although now that it goes through Battleground, that's shifted for some people. But Changes is a shift. I mean, things change. I can't wait to hear what Zach has to say. Is it going to be any good, Zach?
It's all right.
Hi there, we're Fantasy for the Ages. I'm Jim. That's Zach, father-son duo bringing you fantasy, science fiction, and other nerdy things we enjoy. Thanks for joining us today for this Spoiler-Lite book blast coverage of Changes. Zach is going to give us his reactions. I've got full coverage on this book elsewhere on the channel. I read it quite a while ago. He's just recently finished, and he's going to tell us what he thinks of this amazing book that he won't think probably is as amazing as I do. If you like it or horribly disagree with him, either way, we hope you'll like the video and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to share all the things we have coming out with you as we continue on through all of this great SFF stuff. Talk to me about Changes, Zach. I really was hoping it would hit you a bit and change your thoughts about the overall story of the Dresden Files.
But it didn't do that.
Dang it.
It was something I enjoyed. There were elements of it that were very interesting, escalations in a number of ways that were interesting. It was nice to see Harry Dresden suddenly given, kind of out of left field, a new driving motivating factor that kind of becomes his new main driving motivating factor. And validly so. Some of the wiggling around some rules, without going too far into it, we finally get someone finally doing the whole, yeah, who cares about a threshold if the house doesn't exist kind of thing. So that's fun that it took this many books to do it, but someone did it. There are big changes, especially because of the outcome of this book. But I would argue the biggest change in this book really has to do with a small, almost quiet little deal in a back room in a church.
Yes, I would agree with that. There's a lot of things that happen in this book that are subtle in ways that it's easy to miss.
Especially when there are a lot of things that are not subtle in this book as well.
That's true as well. As you continue on into the series, it will become much more apparent a lot of things that happened in this book, and you will realize, oh, okay, I see that now. Couldn't know that back then, but I see what Jim Butcher laid down. There's definitely a lot of action in this one.
Yeah.
Harry Dresden barely has a moment to catch his breath anywhere in this story.
No. I mean, literally has to look at his options of who can I make a deal with, because he needs to keep going, and he can't.
Character who has his best moment of the series so far, Mouse.
You think it's best? It's a really good moment.
Just to be able to see that side of Mouse in this book.
It's a really, really good moment. It's definitely top 2 or 3 moments for Mouse.
I mean, yeah, Mouse has done some amazing things, but you just get to see a whole nother side of this character here that I was so entertained by.
Here's what I'll give you. The Mouse agency that we see and get revealed to us here is great.
Yeah. Snarkiness is another word that comes to mind for me when I think about that scene.
I mean, if you live day in, day out with Harry Dresden that long, you're going to pick it up even if you weren't snarky to begin with. It's like living with you day in, day out from my entire upbringing. I'm snarky. It's your fault.
Ebenezer has a significant role in this. And a reveal, an impact, a shift. Again, a change.
There's a change. Definitely a change in our perspective of a relationship. The relationship itself doesn't change that much here, but our perspective of what it means and why this relationship has been the way it has been for the past 20 years does change.
Harry has to make a decision late in this story that is a very traumatic one.
Mm-hmm.
I think he made the right decision. I don't think he could have made another decision than what he made. But that was not an easy decision to make, and I think the way it was written was really well done.
I enjoyed that it was written in a way that made it very clear that Harry viewed this as his decision that he was making. That was a very hard decision, while also showing us this is not just Harry's decision, and it is
The other character
it's
had
like we
something
can
to say.
tell he's gonna carry this possibly for the rest of his life
Mm-hmm.
and blame himself for this possibly for the rest of his life. When he had at best or worst, depending on how you say it, 33% of the agency there.
Yeah. No, that's nicely said. 33%. I like
And
that.
it's very possible less. Or at least his part of it was less important.
This is a story that features the biggest battle scene we've seen in any of the Dresden Files so far. I mean,
So far, yeah.
There's a massive culminating event in this story. It has twists and turns you don't see coming, and you have, called out Jim Butcher for being too predictable on some things. There are some elements of that last battle that you don't really predict. I mean, do you feel a little different about the writing in this book compared to some of your complaints on previous ones?
Some of it.
I mean, just one I'll point out. I'm only going to say it's Spoiler-Lite style, but when Murphy does that thing involving a weapon.
No, that's not a surprise.
You weren't surprised at all the way that went?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
That's one of the ones I would not have called out as being surprising. One of the things I would have called out as being surprising would have been more like less that it is a surprise and more that Jim Butcher successfully built enough into this world to give options of choice. And so you can't predict for sure which way something's going to go. Cause like, okay, Harry's given this choice and he's got like 3 different options that he could go to. And once he picks one, it's like, okay, we kind of see how this might go out. But I could totally see a world where he made a different choice and it's a very different story.
Okay.
He could go a currency instead of a seasonal direction with things, and things look very different.
A particularly entertaining moment is the broadcast session, as a certain deal is sealed.
Yes. Sorry, I had to think about which thing are we talking about. Yeah,
that's some humor slipped in there.
Well, here's an interesting thing actually about this book and small thoughts of me going forward because I have read much further than this now. Jim Butcher starts to let the Dresden Files get a little bit of spice sometimes. Not a lot, but a little bit. I'm shocked you like this series as much as you do because you hate that.
No, in the way he does it, it's working for me. Now, speaking to spice, we have an opportunity for some right at the very end, and then there's another abrupt change right at the end. This is one of those moments where I was really glad book 13 was already waiting, because wow, cliffhanger in this one, and that would have sucked to have to wait.
So I pretty early on had learned that something along those lines might happen at some point in the case of this story, like the long story. So having that little bit of context, I did pick that moment was going to be like, yeah, that's going to happen now.
Yeah. This is one place though where it's a little less effective because there are 5 more books when that moment happens in this book. If there was nothing else, if you're reading this when it just came out, you're left going,
yeah, but that cliffhanger kind of thing is, to me, a little bit of an overdone trope that I never really enjoyed.
However, we will talk in the next book where Jim Butcher actually has done something I feel a little unique here. Not the typical move with a cliffhanger of this sort. But yeah, that's for the next one.
And I think we can leave it here. I enjoyed changes. Like I've said, I think in the last book blast for these, I am at the point where like I enjoy each of these books individually and I'm enjoying the building story. It's still not my top series ever, but it's more because some of the early books I didn't really like very much, not because these are bad. These ones, pretty good.
Okay. There you go. Straight out of Zach's mouth. Again, we hope you enjoyed this and you'll hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't. Leave comments for Zach or me down in the comment box. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.